Hello and welcome to another installation of my post-Continental Cup coverage with today's guest, Cedric. Welcome, Cedric. Glad to have you in this video.
Hi, glad to be here.
So, you made top 8, or rather top 4, with your Rakdos Agro Brew, which is what we want to talk about today. But first, let's briefly introduce you. So, what's your local community and where do you mainly play Highlander?
I mainly play kitchen table with Hendrik and with another friend who's unknown in the internet. And
Nice.
sometimes I go play in the local game stores, but it's from the timing it doesn't happen so often.
So, where are
So
you
I would
based?
be
Berlin or Potsdam or?
Berlin, Potsdam. Yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes.
So then you found your way from the kitchen table to the top 4 of the Continental Cup. That's great. Mm, when did you start playing Highlander?
Must have been 2006 in Aachen.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
you're not originally from Berlin, or you have spent time
No,
in
no, I
Berlin
moved to
recently?
finish my studies in Berlin,
All right.
2007, yes.
2007. And have you played continuously since then, or had you had any breaks from the format or from Magic in general?
The format I started playing, but I didn't really play this format. I
Ah,
played it for fun. Sometimes I built a Gruul ramp deck because it was the cheapest deck to build. And in Berlin, I met Johnny in 2007, and then I restarted playing Highlander.
all
Yes,
right.
and then also more competitively to join tournaments in Hanau. Yeah.
Ah, cool. So you already mentioned Gruul Ramp, and apart from the Rakdos deck that you piloted in the Continental Cup, are there any other Highlander decks that you have experience with? Like you have played for more than a few matches on the kitchen table?
More than a few matches on the kitchen table. There are not so many. There's Boros Aggro, Reanimator, um, creature stacks.
Oh,
Yeah, that's it. I think, and Snow, a bug also.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite a selection. What was the reason for you to play Rakdos in the Continental Cup?
No, I don't really know. I always have trouble to decide on a deck because I like many decks at one time. This is the deck I know best, I think, from my decks I play at the moment. And I really like UV. No, U.
UW, Blue White Control.
blue, blue-white control at the moment, but I hate playing mirrors, so
Hmm.
this was off. And I also have some other decks I liked, but they wasn't tuned enough, I think. And Rakdos is fast, and I like playing fast deck at tournaments, so you have time after
Yeah, it's better
matches.
better for the brain.
Yeah,
For it.
and this also has some I win cards, and that's I think is a good thing to have at the moment. Yeah. So
Definitely.
yeah.
So yeah, we're already halfway into the deck discussion by that. So let's walk through your deck. So as I looked through your deck list, I considered it to be a very aggressive and disruptive deck, and it has a little um, recursion sub theme with these little creatures that can dig them up
Mhm.
themselves. And you also run the Blood Moon effects, which makes you is probably one of the I win cards, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so I would assume that your deck plan is to apply pressure from the start, so onto the board by playing your permanents, by removing opponents' permanents, by attacking their hand cards.
Yes.
Is that correct, more or less?
Yes. Also, yeah, and also the two drops are mostly also some sort aggressive because they are creatures, but many of them draw cards or do some other
Hmm.
things. Yeah.
Like Dark Confident, Mindblade Render,
Yeah.
Copter,
So
Stormfist Crusader. Yeah, yeah, I see. So there are many creatures with tons of good text, so that makes them versatile beyond the
yes.
sheer power and toughness values. Okay, so what are the typical matchups for this deck? So which ones are good, which ones are bad, or is it a 50-50 on every matchup deck?
Bad is hard control. Blue-white control is a very hard matchup. Decks with many colors of mana are usually good.
Mm,
Um, Apart from very fast combo like Scapeshift I played in the semifinals, this can be hard because they also have I win cards and they have more than I have.
mm,
Um, like yeah, those tempo decks I think are good matchups. Also, I think White Weenie is a good matchup now because my Blood Moon effects are really good against them. I didn't know before, but they performed really well.
Probably
Um,
it's also dependent on the list. I think Mono White has also many
yeah, they
different
play many
shades and
value
facets.
lands. Yeah.
Mm.
No, I
Mm.
think it's yeah, not many very good matchups, but also not very bad apart hard control.
So the hard control part surprises me a bit because I would guess that fast and disruptive decks like Rakdos should actually be good against blue-white control or heavy control approaches. I mean, maybe Blood Moon doesn't work if they are this basic land
Blood
control
Moon doesn't
approach,
work,
but
and some removal doesn't also work for the
right,
artifact
you
removal
have dead
spells.
cards. Yes, that's
I have
true.
dead cards, and the sweepers can be really hard to overcome. I only have two planeswalkers,
Mm.
and
But then again,
yeah,
you have
not many.
resilient creatures that dig up themselves, and you have a bit of hand control, so you're not
Yeah, but
chanceless.
if they reach 5, 6 mana and they can play a Haymaker card, it's really hard. Enchantments also are really hard to deal with. I can't deal with
Mm.
enchantments, so a good enchantment can finish this deck easily.
Okay, to foreshadow the removal section, why don't you play Feed the Swarm?
I tested it a year ago or something, but I think it's sorcery.
Mm.
And also the life loss was a bit too much. I only play some life loss cards and no,
Yeah,
wasn't.
it's not a great card. It was
Yeah,
also
yeah,
more of a. I mean, it wouldn't really much improve your chances against enchantment if you run one enchantment removal.
yeah.
So that's
True.
was kind of a trick question. You dodged it well. mm, so okay, well, then one thing I wondered is when you have tons of removal in your deck, so you could also play the controlish line if you decide to, if you play against an aggro deck. So how do you decide that? Let's assume your opponent goes first. There's a white weenie deck, plays an average one drop like a 2/1 with some ability, and you have a 2/1 for 1 mana yourself or a fatal push. So what? How do you decide whether you go for put something on the board or enter the control mode and first kill everything
Well,
they play?
yeah, it depends on what I have, what else I have. If I have enough removal for follow-ups or for better creatures they play, because their one-drops usually are not that good, I think. They have some good ones, but it depends on the creature. If it's just a 2/1 with an expensive ability, I think I play my 1-drop.
Mm.
And if I have a 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, I play my board.
Mm.
And otherwise, I think I try to kill it.
Okay,
Depends on the
so
hand, I think.
let's another trick question. How good does the one drop need to be in order for you to immediately kill it? So would you kill a mana elf, a giver of
Yes,
runes?
always. Mana Elf always, Giver always, Mother always. Yes, yes. Those I
I mean,
always kill.
we don't have to
Also,
ask about Ragavan, I guess. So
yeah, Grim Lavamancer also. All those wanderers which really can run away with the game. Yeah,
hmm.
they have to go.
Can Grim Lavamancer still run away with the game? I mean, you have to feed it,
I think so.
in
Yes. Which
that's I
the
like
match
this
I
answer.
play.
I'm a big fan of
Yeah,
Lavamancer, and I think it's getting not enough
yeah,
respect these days.
yeah. I think it's really good. Sometimes it doesn't do much, but sometimes it really kills all the things they play.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right,
One.
so with these impressions in mind, let's look at your deck. I made up some categories,
Mhm.
and the first category would be threats. So you play some aggressive one drops and a selection of black 1 mana 2/1 creatures, but not all of them. But one
Mhm.
card you play is Lifetime Passholder. Can you tell me how good this card is, and can you maybe start by explaining to old conservative Magic players like me what the fuck is an attraction? How does this work?
So this one opens an attraction if it dies, so the opponent won't block it, I think, won't often block it, because they don't want me to have an attraction. Attractions do small things. If you roll a dice and you hit a 6 or two other digits, you can
Yes.
one
Yeah. So I had
50%
only a
hands
brief
mostly.
look. So you have a 50% chance always to trigger it, and
Yes.
then there is something like Scry one or something
Yeah.
on
So
these.
if it dies early, it's really nice. Um, if you play it late and you don't have a chance to kill it, or the opponent doesn't kill it, it does nothing. It's just a 2/1,
Mm.
which is which the opponent doesn't block very often.
Mm.
So Yeah, I like attractions, and I would play more of those cards if there are some good ones. How's it
So,
called?
and how does this
Most Serious
attraction?
Gamer
How many
is
attractions do you bring? What's
10.
your? Oh,
The best
okay.
10. Yeah, the best 10. So the one which can claim a prize and
So,
some others. Yeah.
so 10 is the minimum number, and you could,
Yes, yes.
and so okay, yeah, I see. Right, and then this, okay, I didn't really think about that. These attractions also create a small advantage. Then it makes total sense
Yeah,
because I thought
and
when it's only because occasionally your roll is 6 and then it returns, that cannot be the whole story. And no, I
no,
know
no.
what the story is.
This this just is a bonus text, I think. The good thing is opening attraction, and also attractions do something also with Ursa Saga, because there are permanents and artifact permanents, so your tokens get bigger.
Hmm.
This doesn't come very often, but it's a small thing.
Hmm. Then again, the attractions are artifacts that can be killed, but then again, Highlander decks
Yeah.
don't run many artifact removal, and probably they're usually better targets for that.
It's also in the deck to make opponents look at the card and wonder what an attraction is.
Yeah, for me it has definitely worked. Okay, so that's about the zombie guest. Um, so another card that I've been wondering about is Dreadhorde Butcher, good old rare
Hmm.
from War of the Spark. So I like this kind of slith was the word,
Hmm.
so that you played back in the days when in mono red. So a 2 mana 1/1 haste that grows when it connects. So how easy is it
Yeah.
to connect with a 2 mana 1/1 creature these days?
Um, yeah, it's kind of easy. I play many removal spells, so I usually connect it, and sometimes you really don't want to block it if you have like a 1/1 lying around, so because it shoots directly.
Mm.
So if you have two blockers, which if you have one blocker, you always block it, but if you have two creatures, normally the opponent doesn't block because I kill another creature with it.
Mm.
And it's also a warrior, which is important for
Yeah.
another card. Yeah.
Yeah, this is exactly the next card that is on my list, and it's exactly next to it in my sorting of the deck list, which is Mindblade Render.
Yeah.
So it's a 2-drop 1/3, which says whenever a warrior connects, you draw a card and lose one
Mm-hmm.
life. So I counted. You run 6 warriors,
Mm-hmm.
and the Mindblade Render by itself doesn't look too impressive as a 2 mana 1/3 creature.
Yeah,
So
true.
how does it perform?
I think it's a really good card. It's next best, I think, after Dark Confidant from the card drawing creatures.
Wow, that's a statement.
And yeah, it's a 1/3, so it usually doesn't die if it attacks. Normally, it survives, and it can draw a card by itself. And also sometimes you have very good draws. For example, you play Blood-Soaked Champion turn one, and afterwards this one, so you draw a card immediately.
Yeah, I mean, but that's I mean, it's a,
I really like it,
how
and
often does this happen?
I also see it in the Sui decks. They also play it. So if
Mm.
they play it, I think.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you say that it by itself can connect and draw cards, then this is a fine card. I only had doubts that creature with 1 power for 2 mana will connect
Yeah,
that often. But
I
I
would
mean, you
like it
have
better. For
ways
power.
and means to make it happen. So,
Mm.
mm, right. So, okay, you at least convinced me to try Mindblade Render myself when I play
Yeah.
my next aggressive black deck. So the next card on my list would be Stormfist Crusader. So it's a kind of cool card, but many Magic players are apprehensive when it comes to letting the opponent draw cards. So this effect that in your upkeep each player draws a card and loses 1 life, how good is that? I mean, apart from you
The
can have
effect.
Shieldred with it on the board and then it's fantastic, but
Yeah,
without Shieldred.
it's a menace creature. So also so it does 3 damage a turn. I think that's a good rate. And I draw the card first. So usually the opponent kills this and the other drawing dudes very fast. So the opponent mostly respects this. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
you,
like it
you
for
don't draw
gaining
the card
monarchy
first,
or
but when you draw, you can play sorceries and the opponent only can play instants. You draw at the same
yes,
time, right?
yeah,
Your
yeah.
upkeep
I
needs
have
to
my
be
mana
cast.
all
Yeah, yeah.
ready.
Okay. Interesting. Um, so then I have a card that really positively surprised me, which is Gut True Soul Zealot.
Mm.
So I know this card only from Baldur's Gate Commander drafts, I think,
Mm.
which I did sometimes when we weren't enough players for a regular draft, and has always been fun. But it never occurred to me that this card could have constructed applicability. But then I read it
Yeah,
again when I saw it in your list, and you can basically slam it on turn 3, attack with your 2-drop, and turn that 2-drop into an attacking 4/1 menace. That actually
yeah.
seems quite massive.
This is huge. That's a really, really good 3-drop. And also you can just sack an artifact. For example, if I have a bubble in my opener and I don't need the card, I wait to sack it into Gut to keep my creatures on the board. That's also nice. And also the skeletons stay on board. That's atypical, I think. Normally you think that they die and also they have menace. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
usually
really
it's
cool.
haste and exile end step, but this
Yeah,
is just menace, and opponent has to probably
yeah.
sacrifice 2
Well,
creatures in order to get rid of it, because you cannot simply trap it
yeah,
with a 1/1. That's
yeah.
really impressive.
This is
Um,
impressive. Only downside is legendary, so this is the thing with this card. Yeah,
yeah, of
but
course.
otherwise it's really cute. Good.
But then again, you play several legendaries, so I mean,
Yeah, I
opponent's
try to keep
Caracas
them down. Yeah,
is not a thing that you really like to see, but I mean, when it happens, and you have ways to kill lands, so that should
yeah,
be fine. Also, what looks nice, at least on paper, is that you could sacrifice these little 2/1 creatures that can reanimate themselves. So does this
yeah.
happen a lot, or is this just a cute
No,
fantasy?
no. It's I don't reanimate them very often. I
Hmm.
don't know why. I think I have other things to do with the mana, but
Hmm.
when it comes up, it's really good. And also the opponents really try to get rid of them as they hit the graveyard. They're more afraid of them as they should, I think.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's definitely so I have a box of leftover commons and uncommons from this set, so I will dig for guts. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Mm, Next card on my list would be the opposition agent. So many players have cut it because they're not as convinced of this card anymore. I tended to like it always. So what's your opinion? How does this card perform these days?
It's an I win card. Against decks with fetch lands, this wins the game by itself. And as I apply pressure early, I can easily keep mana open for it later, so the opponent has to react to my board already, and then I can play opposition agent, and this wins. And yeah,
Would you really say when it hits one fetch land, it wins the game? I mean, of course, it can do that if the opponent's
I can do it
plan
with Dark Ritual,
crumbles.
for example,
Yeah, that's the
on
nicest
turn
thing.
one, and I think this would win, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
otherwise, if the opponent, I don't know how many lands they have in hand, but if you have just 1, 2 lands or 3, and I take one away, I get the land, you don't have it, and I also get to see your hand. I think it's very good.
Yeah, that's always. As I said, I always liked
Also,
that card.
sometimes
I was.
it's just a blocker or
Mm,
surprise attacker for next turn.
mm. Yeah, I was kind of confused when people stopped playing it because I
Yeah,
always
me
tended
too.
to like
Would
that
always
card.
play it in black decks with creatures. Yeah.
Mm. All right. Then I'm curious to see. Maybe I don't know. I will talk to Lucas, the Grixis player from the top 8 later,
Mm.
and but I think he is one of the players who doesn't run it. Maybe
Mm.
as he plays Grixis, there is no space for that. I'll keep that question in mind and ask him. mm, then I saw that you play Scourge of the Skyclaves in your deck,
Mhm.
um, which makes total sense because we will look at the removals in a second, and there are
Mm.
lots of cards that let you bleed. Um, my main question is, why don't you also run Death Shadow?
I think Death Shadow doesn't come online as consistently as Scourge, but also Scourge is a card I could cut it. I think it's good card sometimes, but sometimes I just can't play it. And yeah, it's not one of the best cards in the
Oh,
deck, I
yeah.
think.
So this works differently from Shadow in a sense that both players need to have taken
Yeah.
damage. You can bleed yourself and you hit your opponent, and it doesn't matter who has the lowest life total. I mean, there's these
Yeah, it's the highest
conditions.
life total it takes, yes.
Yeah, exactly. But it doesn't care for who has it. So,
Yeah.
um, okay, yeah, right.
The
Yeah,
Shadow, I
this.
think some 3 decks tried it, but I don't know if it's any good. 13 life, to have 12 life, then
Mm,
it's a 1/1, you need to have 10 life. I don't know. It's not really a 1-drop. It's like a
Yeah, yeah,
4-drop or a 3-drop rather.
I agree. Yeah, in my mind, Scorch and Death Shadow
Mm.
were more similar in their effect, but I only now realized that their effect is actually quite different. I mean, they both get better when you bleed, but
Mm.
not they're kind of different actually. I assume it doesn't often happen that you kick out this creature, right?
No, not very often. I think I never kicked it, but I saw it kicked against me, not in the tournament, but I
Okay.
saw it once, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you flood to death, and then I mean, maybe,
Yeah.
but probably it's not enough then to get you back into the game.
Mm.
So I've mentioned removal already, and let's look at that a bit. You play a package of 15 or 16 removal spells. I think it's 16 when
Mm.
because I think I didn't count Fury as removal, which is probably a
Also,
removal,
both
right?
Lilianas I would count too.
Okay, then we are already at 18.
Uh,
Yes, true. Yeah, so
yeah,
but definitely it is a ton. So
it's a
um,
ton, yeah.
so you basically have a bunch of very cheap and effective removal spells, and you have some that are a bit more clunky but also more flexible.
Mm.
So some cards surprised me. So, for example, why do you run Seal of Fire? Only because of Delirium, or what's the reason?
Yeah, it's Delirium and also it's with how do you let me look it up here. Lorus. I really
Ah,
like it
it's a
with Lorus.
permanent. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't. I
And
missed that.
I
That's
also
cool.
like the opponents make other plays if I play Seal of Fire.
Mm.
Um, so they keep their 1-drops or they play differently, and I think that's good for me. And also you can just play it if you have mana open and you just keep it laying around for later, so you can use your mana with it. But also I thought about cutting it to play perhaps another card, but for now I'm happy with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm always happy when I see good old cards put to new use. Mm. And you play one Edict effect, which is apart from the Planeswalker, which is Angrath Rampage, and you don't run Shieldred's Edict. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, Angra's Rampage was for some. I played it for a long time. Then I cut it for Dreadboard to have more answers against Murktide Regent. But then I really hate the artifacts, the jitter and the life
Right.
gain equipment. So I put in Angra's Rampage again over Shieldred's Edict because it can kill an artifact. That's the reason.
Okay, I think this takes away already my question on Abrade, so that's probably the same
Yeah.
answer for this card, right?
Yes. Yeah. I want to kill the artifacts.
All
Also,
right.
Vaga is the thing, so everyone plays artifacts. Yeah.
I mean, not everyone plays Urza Saga. Many
Uh,
many players do, but
Many
not
play it.
but
Yeah.
but not all of them. I mean, all creature decks will play Jitter regardless of
Yeah.
if they have a Saga package or not,
Yeah.
and Copter probably also. So you
Yeah.
you will find your targets. And also, the cards aren't dead when the opponent doesn't play an artifact, so they're not shattered. They have other
Yeah.
options.
Yeah.
Um, right, and the card which earns you my prize of cutest card I have spotted in any deck list is Fire Covenant. It's a
Yeah.
card that I remember. I don't know which deck I had it in, but I definitely played it in Highlander back in the days. And since then, um, it spends its retirement on my old frame cube, and I love drafting it. But I'm very happy to see it again in the Highlander list. So, is
Mm.
this has this become good again, or is this just particularly good in your list? So, please tell us a bit
I
about this card.
really don't know because I know it for a long time, but I never played it. It's the first deck I put it in, and it performs really well. It's also a bit like a Parallax Wave, so you kill the opponent's board and then you get in.
Mm.
This is really cool. Instant speed, so you can do it yeah, in combat if you want to. Yeah,
So I
it's a good
think
card.
that why it might be great is many very good creatures with lots of
Mm,
text and small bodies have been printed, and this card just gets rid of them, all of them at once, without
yeah.
affecting your board. So that looks really fantastic. So how often do you think you have resolved it in the Continental Cup?
Ooh, we think at least 2 times, I think. Yeah.
How many
2 times,
creatures?
I think.
How many creatures did it kill
I
per
think
pairs
one
already?
time only 2. Yes, I think I killed 2 and 3 creatures with it. Yeah.
I mean, that's
But it
still
not
impressive
some.
values for one card. So,
Yeah, that's good. You can also kill bigger creatures if you have enough life. So you
mm,
can kill a Murktide if you have enough life. Yeah.
yeah, that's better than be beaten up by the Murktide, I guess. So,
Yes. Yeah.
mm, okay, cool. Yeah, was very happy to see this card in the list. Right, so that's it for me about removal. When we look at the disruption package, I have put the 3 discard spells for 1
Hmm.
mana and Hymn to Torage and Blood Moon in the disruption. Of course, we can also add Magus of the Moon to the disruption package. We can also add
Mm.
the moons to the threats package, so this reveals
Yeah.
that there are cards which are versatile and fit into many categories.
Mm.
But which has surprised me is that usually the first 3 disruption spells I start with are Thoughtseize, Inquisition, and Duress, and you have Thoughtseize, Inquisition, and Dread Fugue. So why is that?
I had too many games where Duress didn't hit anything. So as Dreadfuge came out, I swapped it in, I think, all my decks for Dreadfuge. So no
Okay.
Duress, but Dreadfuge. But after the tournament, I thought I would like to have one more of those, and I think it would be Blackmail over Duress if I
Oh,
put one in, if I
interesting.
find room to
Is
put
this
another one in.
is this due to the advent of the creature decks like Naya Maverick and stuff, so that decks simply run
Yeah,
more
I think so.
creatures and you don't hit with Duress anymore?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Mm, yeah, I'll keep that in mind. That's definitely something a new impulse that I really like, because for me it was totally uh, engraved in stone that Thoughtseize, Inquisition, Duress is the thing that you start with, and if you want additional disruption for 1 mana, you
Mm.
start from there. And replacing one of those has never occurred to me, but it's always good to reevaluate old staples. Mm,
Perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps you should play Duress also, and you play Thoughtseize, Duress, Inquisition, Dreadfuge, and Blackmail.
but if you said you tested it and Duress failed multiple times, then at least for your approach,
Perhaps
it might be
there are
correct,
also
right?
very good walkers that are
Mm.
yeah being played.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
yeah,
hitting Ren and N6 or Minsk and Boo, or
mm,
the unspeakable
yeah,
horror of the Cosmic Stellar Pump.
yes.
Comet. Oh, let's not talk about that card. Um, right. Have you tested Grief? I haven't seen Grief in many lists, but I
No,
have seen
I
Grief some weeks and months before.
I
So.
didn't test it. I saw it against me, and I saw it in some modern decks, but I re the effect is good, but I really don't like to pitching 2 cards to taking 1 card away from my opponent.
Mm.
I
So
Yeah,
if you
no,
cannot
I
ephemerate
don't
or
like it.
cheat
As a 4
otherwise,
drop,
then
it's not good enough to play it hardcast.
mm,
No, no,
all
I
right.
don't want it. Perhaps I'm wrong, but no, I don't like this card.
Yeah, I mean, there are many players who didn't bring it to the Continental Cup.
Mm.
So if you're wrong, you're not wrong alone. mm, so then let's talk about the Saga package. So, um, as I just mentioned, not all decks run
Mm.
Urza Saga, and I personally feel that Urza Saga is a very strong card, but also a very
Yeah,
slow one. So it surprised me a bit to see it in your deck list. So you,
yeah,
so you, yeah.
you can get some tempo back if you patch Chromox with it. So you lose cards, but you get your mana back. And I thought about cutting it, but I think it's too strong of a land if you top deck it or you play against control. It does so many things. Sometimes you don't even play a card, you just make tokens.
Mm.
I didn't draw Saga at the tournament, I think, but yeah, I like it.
Mm,
So
so
there's
maybe
also a
the
reason to play 2 colors and not splash for anything. That Saga, I can support Saga in my mana base.
mm. So I mean, the biggest thing that you can do with Saga is getting a Shadow Spare and giving you a huge
Yeah.
advantage in the damage race, because your creatures are bigger and
Mm.
lifelink. And also the surprise Neil Spellbomb can also probably get
Mm.
some opponents um, by surprise. But yeah, what is a usual? I mean, the default opening hand with a good curve, and then you have Urza
Mm.
Saga. So how do you deal with it? You have to play it because of the mana at some point, and then you have to decide activate Saga or play your curve. So how do you deal with situations like
I
that?
most normally I keep Saga in hand until I have to play it to play cards, so that I play it as the last card possible,
Mm.
so that I have I can activate it also. But sometimes depends if the opponent has a graveyard. I have to get Neil Spellbomb. If I play against an aggressive deck, I play it early to get Shadow Spear. Yeah, and sometimes I just get a bauble if I need another card.
Mm. And how
Yeah.
often does it happen that you draw a Saga and a Moon effect? So that must suck.
Uh, I had a demonic tutor in hand and wanted to get the Saga, and in the last second I didn't get it because I had the moon already lying around. So sometimes,
That would be a bummer.
yes, that must be
Tutor
really bad.
for -2
Um,
cards, great.
it's yeah, it seems like it is a nombo, but both cards are really strong, so I like playing them
All right.
together in the deck. But also, yeah, Saga is good, but I also could cut it. But I kept it in for Nihil Spellmomb and Shadow Spear, and the rest is such just cards I would play anyways.
Mm.
I think Shadow
All
Spear
right. So if
also.
you would cut Saga, you would also cut Spellbomb and Shadow Spear.
Yeah, but I think I need Spellbomb. I think it's good
Mm.
to have another out against really
Yeah.
major.
Also, I mean, it's a kind of a cantrip that kills the entire graveyard, so
Um,
it's a fine card, I guess.
Also, you missing one card, I think, in the package. I can get a creature with it, a Bomat Courier.
Yeah, of course.
That's that's the
It's listed
most
under
often.
threats.
Yeah, this is the card I get the most with Saga.
Really?
Um, yeah, really, because yeah, it does draw more cards and it's a haster. Yeah.
Hmm, interesting. In
Uh,
my view, Bowman Courier always dwindled when it came, the later it came. And I mean, with Daga, it
I've
occurs like
both
turn
playing are
3
top
at the
decking.
earliest. But yeah, if your hand is empty, then of course, then
Mm.
it gets better
But
again.
usually I have hand cards till the end of the game. It rarely happens that I sit there with no hand cards.
Which is an interesting statement for an aggressive deck.
Yeah, that's why
But
I
then
like
again,
it.
you have tons of removal and you have also control aspects, despite being low
Yeah.
curve aggro. I see that. Okay, interesting. Yeah, let me know when your opinion on the Saga package changes.
Mm.
I'm not trying not saying that it's bad or anything. It's just I felt sometimes bad when I had an aggressive decks and I felt that I have other things to
Yeah,
do
it can
than
happen. But
activating
I think
the
the
Saga.
ceiling is too high to not play
Mm.
at the moment. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, let's come to the mixed category. There are some other cards that I couldn't really assign to another bigger category, and we
Mhm.
have cute cards like Dark Ritual and Unearth in this. Cards which I like a lot, but which I often felt that are slightly too weak because I mean, they can really do impressive things when you have them in the
Mhm.
Dark Ritual in the opening and with Opposition Agent, for example, or Unearth to reanimate the Magus of the Moon or something like that. But whenever I
That
played decks like that, these situations did never really happen.
Dark Ritual really overperformed at the tournament. It was good before, but now I played turn 2 Sheldred with it, for example. So this is really disgusting. I also had opponent played in Wild Plume Adventure on an empty board. I only had one land. Then I drew my second land and could play Dark Ritual, killed their White Plume, played a threat and played another threat, and my threat was a Bomat and something else. So this can really swing games and win on turn 1 and 2. This is very, very good. Would
Right.
always play it now. Yeah.
That's very reassuring to hear. So what about
Yeah.
Unearth?
Unearth and Reanimates, there's also another one, the Rakdos thing that can reanimate only 2 drops, but can give them haste with flashback from the
Claim and
graveyard.
Fame, right?
Yes, and I tried it, and I don't like Claim and Feign, but I also don't like having more of those effects because sometimes you sit there with an Unearth,
Mm.
Unearth you can cycle, but you have a Reanimate and an Unearth in your hand. That's that's no good hand.
Mm. So,
So yeah, I Unearth I really really like and Reanimate also, so I wouldn't cut them, but I won't add another one. Yeah.
all right.
You also have some lines you see Unearth next to Faceless Looting. You can loot and then Unearth. That's cool. And for some time I was playing how do you call it when you fetch a card into your graveyard at instant speed. So yeah, but I cut it. So Unearth, yeah, for now it stays.
Hmm. All right. Um, so what's is the job description of Demonic Tutor in this deck? So I mean, aside from it being a great card per se, I find it a bit slow. So same argument like my Urza Saga
Yeah,
ranked above, so I would usually not run it in an aggressive deck which doesn't run any combos, but I would probably also play it in a Rakdos deck because I can tutor the moon effects.
yeah,
So what's your general impression of that card? What does it do?
yeah. It's the best card for the situation, and yeah, it's slow, but sometimes I play Demonic turn 2 and turn 3 it's the moon,
Mm,
and this in some deck wins the game. So yeah, or it gets a Saga, which is good late game. If you top deck Demonic, you just put Saga in and make generate much value.
mm,
And then also the 3 drops, for example, like Laelia or Planeswalker, Sheldred, also all the best cards,
mm,
the Haymaker cards. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, sometimes it's slow,
that's
but yeah, you can also do you play Demonic and get a really cheap removal, like Snuff Out is the best of them,
mm.
2 mana and kill something. Yeah,
Yeah, that's really nice because I mean the drawback is in a very fast format in a fast deck, then
mm.
being 2 mana down because you need to pay the tutor first is a disadvantage. But of course, getting free spells to handle situations immediately is then again very cool. Yeah, that's nice. Um, all right. Concerning your mana base, I mean,
Mhm.
most of it was kind of straightforward, but one thing that puzzled me a bit was that I found a black-green canopy land, which makes total sense. But I didn't find any other land that can activate the green side of Deathrite Shaman. And I
Yeah,
was wondering why you weren't running any green duels that you can fetch instead of this or as in addition to this.
I actually tested this before the tournament for a month or so. Playing splashing for green for did I play Minsk and Boo? I think I only splashed for Minsk and Boo and played some lands I could fetch, but I didn't like it. I didn't like to fetch early for those cards.
Mm,
And that's why Shame, yeah, I miss out on the green, but it does enough like it is. So
mm.
I
Yeah, but because
prefer to have many
many
swarm basic.
many decks which don't run green do run one of the duels to
Yeah,
for the rare occasions to when the death red is already there to have it to be able to activate it.
I could try, but I think I would have to cut a black land, and I really like to have having black mana.
I mean,
So
you can
yeah,
also cut a mountain and add tiger.
yeah,
Then that would be better for the blood moon thing. So
yeah,
you have
this is
enough
possible.
swamps.
Yeah, but I think I will cut the mountain and add the red manland for it. This was sorted after the tournament or play. Yeah,
Oh,
I
the
think
red.
I would.
Interesting. So
Yeah,
the red mainland is not in. You're
I
right.
switched it night before the tournament for the black land manland.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so your constraint is you don't have in infinite spaces for non-basic lands. I guess, right?
I play 8 basic swarms, and I think yeah, that's a good number. I fetch always. I try to fetch a basic swamp as when I
Mm.
can. That the moon effects are online.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. And speaking of mana and destroying your mana base, how much does Caracas suck for being off color?
Yeah. Caracas is I just added it the night before the tournament too. So the 2 swaps I made last minute. This was before the tournament. It was a Croxa, so the 2 mana
Oh, okay.
creature. Which so it's an additional land I added. So
Okay, so
yeah,
then it's just on top of things.
yeah, I
It's a
play.
spell slot basically.
Yes, yeah, I played as in the spell slot. Yeah,
All right. Okay.
but
That.
I didn't. I think I drew it in my semi-final 2 times. I think I handled 2 creatures with it. And also, I kept a hand with Caracas and Badlands and tried to jam Moon but I didn't draw a third land. So
Okay.
Caracas made it possible for me to do the nut thing. So
All
I
right.
was happy with it. Yeah.
All right. So for the deck list, that would be all from my side. Do you have anything to add? Any card that you want to give a shout out, or anything that you want to cut when you're taking this to a tournament again?
No, as I mentioned, I would like to add another manland
Mm-hmm.
because I think it plays a bit like Mono White as it has very much value in its lands.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't draw Blood Moon, if I have Blood Moon should be enough. Otherwise, the lands is really what makes it good. I have removal in my lands, I have recursion in the lands, I have card draw. So yeah, you can flood out, but your lands do something. And also you can, if you are 2 color, you can play more lands that do stuff than
Mm-hmm.
when
Right.
you are 3 or 4 color. Yeah.
All right, that's cool. So could you, turning to the event, could you briefly walk
Yeah.
us through your tournament, which lasted until the semifinals? If you,
Yeah, I played Benjamin. I don't know where he comes from, right? But at least I put down his name. He played Naya. Um, yeah, I think that could be a very hard matchup depending on what Naya deck does. It's like the winning list, I think he played.
hmm
Um, but I drew really well. The whole tournament I drew really well. This is the game where I played turn 2 Sheldred against him. And yeah, so my if I draw my removal, I think I'm favorite. If I draw the wrong half of the deck with my
Mm.
2/1, I think I lose. If I draw enough removal, it's I think it's good. So
Yeah, so that was my. So I tested Rakdos for a brief period of time when Naya was already a thing, and that was
mm,
exactly my impression.
in one game, he played his what do you call it, endurance,
Mm.
and didn't mention that he wants to remove my graveyard, or at least I didn't hear it, so I
Oh,
didn't do it. And afterwards, he said, if I had removed it, would be better. And I think, yeah, would have been sure, but I didn't hear it. So this was bad, but he was a really, really cool and friendly guy. So I hope he doesn't think I cheated.
okay.
Yeah. What a bad feeling afterwards to hear that he thinks he said it and I didn't hear it. So that's yeah, could have swinged the whole game and the whole tournament.
Mm.
Small things like this, yeah.
No.
Round two was against Marcus. He played 4-color control, I think, with Force Spike, Garch, Arctrail, things like that. Game one, I self-screwed me with my Blood Moon. I played Blood Moon and
So
I
these
had
things also
only
happen.
happened, yeah. I I had I think only red cards, one black card, and I continued drawing black cards, but had only red mana, so I died to Laelia very quickly. Round two, I played Demonic turn two on Blood Moon and played Blood Moon 8-1. So there's that. Yeah, it goes both ways. Yeah.
So I did. So what was the result of the round? Did you win the match?
Yeah, I won. I lost my first matches. I think the first 4 matches I played, I always lost round one. My match one.
Oh, okay.
I
So always.
I lost the first one and won the two others. Yeah,
All right.
and
So
those.
you started 4-0 after the.
Yes, I started 4-0. Yeah, I could draw afterwards. So good for me, but I think this isn't a good thing for a tournament that you
Yeah,
can
probably. This
yeah go
drawing
top
into
eight
top
and
eight
only
is.
play 4 matches. So
Hmm.
yeah.
All right. Actually, your rounds 5 and 6 didn't. Uh,
No, it didn't happen. I played against the mono red player also in the top eight to look to get a feeling for the matchup.
mhm.
But otherwise, I ate and walked around. Yeah.
I mean, which is also fine. So then there are two more rounds that you have to cover for us. So what happened in round three?
I played Hendrik, with whom I went to the tournament, and we
Ah,
stayed together
okay.
in an apartment. So yeah, and I know the matchup really well. This is Cradlehoof,
Mhm.
Upsan Cradlehoof. Um, Game one, I think I won with Fury. Yeah, I had a demonic, I think, for Fury and wiped his mana dogs and won with I think Dreadhorde Arcanist. Um, Second game, he wins. He got a Cradle and a Bellower and swamped his whole board. And game three, I get him low, sort of very low, or sort of low, and he has a Vivian lying around. The Vivian, if you down tick, you can get. If you down tick and you play a creature, you can search your library. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, there he made a mistake that he's angry about. He played his Gargaros and tried to get a 4-drop, and I had 3 mana and opposition agent, so I got his Palace Jailer and killed him next turn.
Aye.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Whoa.
yeah,
That's a story for opposition agent.
yeah, that's a story to play him. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Round four, I played against another Berlin guy, Benjamin, with whom I play online very often.
Oh, so
He's
the
on
mono white Kopfluch.
yeah mono white Kopflurch, yeah. And he really got me game one with Chromox into Arbiter, and I didn't play my fetch turn one, so I was sitting around for several turns waiting to play my cards. And he also was waiting to play his card because he had a hand with mono 4-drops. So
Okay.
I had enough time to win on one life this game. Yeah. And
Alright.
second game, I grinded him out, I think. There was a Recruiter and Sanctifier, Stoneforge Mystic Jitter involved, but I don't have. This was the game where he had White Plume on an empty board, and I managed to swing this game, yeah.
Alright.
I
So
did
then,
Dark Ritual into Bomat Courier, Bolt, and another 2-drop this turn. My turn 3 or 4, yeah. My turn 3, yeah.
you were 4-0. How many 4-0 players were there after round 4? Do you remember that?
I think 4 of them.
Hmm.
Can
So,
look it up, perhaps. I
so
think
and
4 of them,
was it a complicated math thing to determine whether
yeah.
drawing 2 times would be enough?
Um, no, not really, because everyone I talked to said, yeah, you can draw, it will be fine. But we talked to the judge because my opponent and I weren't really sure, and the judge took the time to explain the things and came up to the same conclusion as us that it would be unlikely to draw out. But
Alright.
because there were 17 players in contention at this point, and yeah, there's one of these 17 uh, could yeah. So we could draw. One of us could draw out, but didn't happen. Yeah, we
Alright.
both came up there.
Right, so and then that means that your next match was the quarterfinals in which you played against Hermit. We have coverage from the other side, so and also
Okay.
you told me at the tournament that you had the very good curve removal hand.
Yeah. This was really busted. The things I did to him, and he also mulliganed, I think, 3 times in 2 matches. So he really didn't get into this. Wasn't These really weren't games. So
Right.
I don't know. I didn't watch the episode. I think I have to watch it to see what he says. Um,
Yeah, but I think
He
it's
said to me that the matchup is good for me. He tested it. I didn't test against Hermit. Nobody plays it, and I really don't like if I play Kitchen Table to play against combo. So,
mm,
but I know the deck, so I know what it does. But Abrade killed his Spells Guide, so I had removal for his other cards. And I think I had Sword Seizes both games. Second
yeah,
game, I think, was
it's
Refuge.
a creature-based combo deck, so you're very good at disrupting that with your deck.
Yeah, second game, I think I could remove his Hermit turn 3 already with my Graveyard Glutton, or what you call it.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
trespasser, right? The
yes, Graveyard
the
Trespasser.
day
Yeah,
night guy.
yeah.
All right. And then the semifinals you played against the Scape Shift deck by
Yeah. There, I
Sebastian, right?
think I heard of mistakes I made in this match. Yeah, I think I lost game 1 against Minsk and Boo mainly, and I had the Lavamancer active and many lands and attacked with the Lavamancer. Would I have stayed back and thought about Minsk and Boo, I could have killed the token in response to putting the counter on. I think this would have
But
helped.
you didn't know that he had a Minsk or
Yeah, I could have thought about it. It's a good card that fits really well in Scapeshift, I think. I
yeah,
should
but I
have
mean
stayed.
it's a 1 in 100. So what's the odds that exactly this happens?
Yeah, I could also, the guy standing around said I had enough cards in my graveyard to just ping every
Ah,
turn
okay. So
with the
then it
thing.
doesn't need to attack, but you can just deal more
Yeah,
damage by
but
just.
I wanted to have, for some reason, I wanted to have cards in my graveyard.
All right.
I thought if I draw certain cards, but perhaps I didn't think enough about this.
Hmm.
Yeah. Second game, I win. And I think it's Sokenzan and the land and La Elia who do the job. He stabilizes sort of at 2 life, and the last 2 damage I had to wait several turns to get through.
Also,
Last game is the saddest for me of all games played because I kept the mentioned opener of Dual Land and Caracas and
okay.
a 1-drop and the Blood Moon and some other good cards, but I didn't draw my third land drop.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
then
think the third land
getting
would have killed him
getting
right
the
away.
Blood Moon down would have been devastating
Yeah,
for Scape Shift. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's then kind of
The end was
unlucky
unlucky, but I think yeah, but I think the rest of the time I drew really well. So it happens, and it happened at a good time. I think better than earlier. So
yeah, sure.
uh,
Okay, so to conclude this video, can you give me a general account of your opinion of the current state of the format, the thoughts on ban and watch list, and thoughts on the entire event?
The event was really, really great, I think. Everyone I talked to was really nice and had fun, and most wanted to do this again and more often, I think. So the atmosphere was really great, I think. I only played against cool and friendly players, and that's what I heard from others playing. Um, State of the format, I think it's a bit as it has been for a long time. You always see White Weenie, you always see RDW, Red Deck wins. You see some combo. Now you see more tempo, 3-color, 4-color, Temur and Grixis. I think this hasn't changed much. The only thing new is that you see Naya,
Mm.
and I think it's good to see Naya again. I really liked it. I played it. I didn't mention before, but Naya I played before, and yeah, I like that it's aggressive. But I think you can. I think control would have been great. Also, hard control would have been a good choice for this tournament also.
Mm. Yeah, but then
Instead of the
again,
format,
yeah,
I
there
don't
are.
know. Yeah, we only have the choice to ban or unban cards, and
Mm.
yeah, White Plume, don't think it had to go. I'm not really sad to see it go, but I think it's not the one of the best cards on the ban list, so you could unban. I think they should unban more cards.
All right.
Yeah,
So like gifts and library, which are on the unbanned
yeah,
watch list.
I think you can unban those cards.
All right.
Yeah,
And you don't. So the people I talked to before, both Dirk and Jonas, said, well, library might be unproblematic place from play wise, but for
mm.
tournaments like the Continental Cup where you are not allowed to bring proxies, then that would put a monetary restriction on the tournament
Yeah,
because
but
all the other
I
cards
think
you can
that's
borrow, but this card is
yeah.
one that hardly anyone has, so that would be uncool to have a like money restriction on the format, I think.
I think it's our fault. I think we have to do these tournaments with proxies. I think we don't need to have them run
Yeah, the
by
problem
wizards.
is, I mean, the problem is you need a store or some kind of organization who runs it, and the store cannot allow proxies because that would cost them their concessions, and then they couldn't host tournaments anymore if somebody found out. So that's the
I don't
problem.
know how the Canadian do it. They allow proxies, so I don't know. I think you have to do the if you start by banning cards because they are too expensive, you have other cards you could ban.
Yeah, yeah,
For
true.
example, as I mentioned, hard control. I really like this deck, but I didn't want to bring an original Tabernacle, for example.
Hmm.
I, so this is also a choice I made to not play this deck because I didn't want to bring hyper expensive cards.
Hmm.
I think the most expensive card in this deck, I think it's Scalding Tarn or Badlands. So,
Yep, yep. The Skellington is definitely not worth a duel, so it's
oh, okay,
definitely the Badlands.
Badlands. So, but this is the most expensive card by far. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's a cheap deck.
All right. Okay. And do we have any final things that you want to say on the deck or the format
On the
or
deck,
anything?
not. I think I mentioned the things that I think you do. Yeah, I think we talked enough about the deck. I think, but thank you for doing these coverage things because I think it's good if we have more content for our great format.
Yeah, I'll happily do that. So I hope that I'll be able to reach all the top 8 players and any other players with
Mm.
interesting decks who want to share their thoughts. So if you're seeing this video and you have an interesting deck but you didn't make top 8, so please contact me if you're interested in making
Yeah,
a video
I
like
would
this.
like
So
to do deck with Winter Orb and Sun Titan. I would really like to see this deck.
oh,
So
what
if
was
you're
that? I
listening,
didn't see that list. Do you
I
know?
saw it walking around after round one. So there
Interesting.
was a Winter Orb in play, and he was about to resolve his Sun Titan.
that
Yeah, I would
that
like to see
sounds
this deck
like
here. Yeah.
like my playstyle. I like it a lot. Cool. Yeah, and what I, for example, want to do is I want to get hold of one Flickr pod player because I don't
Mm,
know anything about this deck and would be very curious to learn about it. But this is a thing,
mm,
a project that I have for after I've gotten all the top 8 players. So
yeah.
if any of you plays Flickr pod and feels that this is something that you could get in contact about, then please do write something in the comments or write me a message on Discord or whatever. Okay, cool. Then I thank you a lot for being my guest, and it was really cool to get insights on Rakdos Aggro. So maybe try it again myself at some point.
Okay, thanks.